Hello, everybody, and welcome to the deepest dive on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. This is, without a damn doubt, the best, most thorough discussion about Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis from 1992 on the internet. MinMax is a place about games, friends, and getting better. If I didn't mention that, my name is Ben Hansen, joined in the MinMax studio by Leo Vader.
Many Indiana Joneses to you.
That's right. I'm joined by Ross, the Star Wars and George Lucas Guy Fund.
Hey, I'm back here.
That's right. And at the end of the table, way down yonder, Brian Vore.
Hello, and whoopsh.
Hey, and
all.
whoosh to everybody. This is it, everybody. This is the second half of the deepest dive on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. So we are talking about, in this whole game club discussion, everything from Crete, from when you land on the island of Crete, which is roughly halfway through the game, up until those credits roll. So we're spoiling everything in the back half. If you found this video and you didn't find our full Let's Play on our YouTube channel or the first half of this discussion, first of all, I'm fascinated by you, and I want you to leave a comment on YouTube because I greatly appreciate you. And if you're leaving a comment and this is your first time experiencing the deepest dive and you're like, what is this whole game club format? What is this? If you end up enjoying it, or even if you end up hating it, I want you to know that you can unlock the podcast version of this discussion and all of our other deepest dives on games like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Super Mario 64, basically any good game you can imagine. Let's just say that we've probably done a deepest dive on it, and you can unlock the podcast version of all of those discussions by supporting us at patreon.com/minmax with 2 N's at that $5 tier. And you don't have to listen through patreon.com. It goes right onto your favorite podcast app. It's convenient as all hell.
You don't have to listen, period.
Well, Leo, don't tell him that, man. Come on, be
Well,
cool.
no pressure is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but a little pressure. It's nice to support independent games media.
Right, if you get the money, you don't even have to listen.
That's right. That's right. That's all we ask.
Pay us to not create content for you.
The internet's pretty sweet. This is it, everybody. This is the grand finale for our discussion. We're talking about everything else in the 1992 classic adventure game. And this might be the last time I have to say into a microphone, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, because I feel like the last month of my life has been me saying and tweeting Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. We all finished this game?
Sure did.
Yes.
I watched a long play of the last hour, maybe.
Leo, you were giving me a look right when I was rolling with it, and the credits rolled. You had a look of a scalawag.
There was so much maze act that was like constant maze after maze after maze. I do not begrudge you.
Thank you.
I finished it and then literally grabbed my car keys and drove here. Like,
Are you serious?
The last second.
What
You must
is
have been
everybody's
sweating.
hour counts for those who finished it?
So the first section I finished in 3 hours. And so I started a stream up yesterday on Twitch. I was like, I'll just finish this off in probably another 3 hours or so. That stream went on for 6.5 hours. So my total was 9.5 hours for this thing.
Wow. I was at 14.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I played through the Amazon gaming thing, so I don't know if they necessarily keep track of hours, but I feel like mine was very long, yes.
Okay.
But the second one, I was just like, at this point, let's bring out the guide, because there's no way in hell I'm finishing this.
Holy Lord. Okay, this is the thing. John Lee writes in over on Patreon. These comments that we're reading, they're all pulled from Patreon, everybody. John Lee writes in and says, if Ross got through this half without a guide, I have ungodly respect for him. Second half was so much harder to me than the first half.
I had to get help 2 times for sure.
Only 2 times.
I still give you credit for that because I was constantly looking
Yeah,
at that
I
thing.
mean, it got to the point where you do the adventure game thing where you're just trying every combination of item.
Always a
and
bad sign.
Named object. Yeah, so it may have been a little more fun to just get more help when I needed it, but...
And in this game, I had like 4 pages of items. It's like 20 items. When you get to that point of interacting everything with everything, that's a big commitment.
Yeah, really thought that gum was going to come back into play at some point? No.
Oh, it did for me.
It did? What?
It did. Oh, this is the linchpin of the whole thing. Neil Smith writes in, speaking of combination of items, and Neil Smith wrote in with a comment where he just says, I don't think that'll work. I guess we heard a couple times in
Is
this
that
game.
the most common comment?
From Indiana Jones, it was.
Yeah, he was annoyed by how much he said, I don't think this will work. Yeah, I always thought, I think there's better, more eloquent ways to put it, but I remember like back in college thinking about video games and thinking I was so smart, thinking about game design or whatever. And I was like, I think video games and good games versus bad games come down to like no's per minute. How many no's am I getting per minute? And somehow the adventure game genre is beloved, and I still like it myself when it's just nothing but a Gatling gun of no's to the player at all times, right?
Just shutting it down every opportunity.
Compared to like an immersive sim, I guess would be the most yeses per minute out of all genres. And what's the flip side of an adventure game, do you think?
I guess it would be immersive sim, yeah. It's like this game has those 9 buttons on screen at all times of open, close, pick up and stuff, but it's like, when can you do more than 2 of those things with an item?
Yeah.
With one item.
Yeah, the most obscure is like when you have to pull a lever instead of using it.
Right.
You're like, really, Indy? You don't know what I mean there?
I'm stumped.
But yeah, to getting back to that one comment, it's like this definitely got harder in the second half of the game, which is a very common thing for video games to do. But when an adventure game does it, it somehow feels unfair.
You're right. That is a weird thing. But I think the first half, I still would have been completely stumped. I was able to stream this, but by the second half, there's just no way. It makes me question how any living human being on planet Earth without any guides made it through this. Literally, I was just thinking, if I was locked in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean and I just had to play this game with no other input, 30 years would go by, I think. It's just so brutally
Does the
hard.
submarine have a deli in it, though? Like
Unclear.
A submarine sandwich, right?
What do you think was the most common comment, by the way, for the second half? Everybody's submitting comments over there on Patreon.
Is to say about the Labyrinth too broad?
No, I don't think that's too broad. We'll take it.
I think it's going to be something from after the point where I assume the storylines, the 3 different paths, reconverge. So my guess is going to be Nurab Sal, we hardly knew ye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just talking about how they wanted to get to know the god better?
Yeah, or he's like, wait a minute, he's bad or something, and now we've killed him? Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think, Brian?
I'm going to go off my previous guess, and in that the sub controls were total crap.
Oh, interesting.
Huh. I never got to pilot the sub.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I definitely want to get through all that stuff. Most common comment, it was a tough one. I think just in general is people complaining about the puzzles being harder. Maybe that's too general. That's even wider than the Labyrinth comment, But in general, that seemed to be the vibe, is people just hitting their wits' end at all this stuff.
Do you think people from 92, like adventure game fans who bought this, would have been pissed if the last half of the game wasn't just completely impossible? Is that what they get off on?
I think they specifically get off on it. Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I always heard so much crap about Full Throttle, it's too short, it's too easy, and now it seems like people look back on that and they're like, actually, that one's pretty good to go back and play because of those 2 reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there were those people back in the day. It'd be interesting to check out reviews.
Yeah, I think this is still coming on the tail end of it when adventure games were brutally, unfairly hard because you had one game every 6 months, and so they thought that making it hard was equal to replay value or something. So I think probably when this game came out, people are like, wow, pretty fair. Really seems easy. Because, it has stuff like Sophia, if you're on the team path, if that's what it was called, you can talk to her and be like, what do you think we should do? And if you don't have anything to do in your exact area, she will say, I don't think there's anything else we can do here.
Oh,
or
really?
something like that. So
that's huge.
Yes. So, and she will give you kind of a hint at what you should be generally trying to accomplish if there is something you can still do on your screen. So it's probably lucky that I did do this path, because that kind of really helped point me in the right direction a bunch of times.
Yeah. We thought we had it hard, but IanTClark here, they say, as a small child, I loved this game so much that I literally learned how to read early just to complete it. Can you imagine trying to get through this and I understand 30% of these words. Nurab Sal, how do I spell that? IanTClark says, thanks, video games. The version we had was a 1992 release, which had no voices and was installed via 5 3.5-inch floppy disks, which felt ridiculous to me at the time. How big must this game be that they couldn't fit it on the disc? It turns out it's pretty damn big. So awesome hearing fresh reactions to a childhood favorite. Thanks, y'all. Looking forward to part 2. Well, we're in it. Yeah, a surprising number of people in the Discord, too, were talking about how they had very specific memories of this, and Maniac taps into it saying, following along has been amazing and nostalgic, having played this game originally after its release when buying it at the Scholastic Book Fair at school. I guess it was in that pamphlet. Do you all remember games being in the Scholastic Book Fair pamphlet?
Never.
No.
Really? They must have been a generational thing, because they were starting to pop up for me in those little booklets.
Really? I wonder if it was more PC focused, and I was like, but I don't have a PC.
I think it was. It was usually edutainment type stuff, but then it would start to bleed into that game actually just might be fun.
I can see stuff like Carmen Sandiego being in there.
Yep. I remember
at school.
I think my friends got a Wishbone game for their PC, and that feels like something that was in the Scholastic Book Fair, which I don't know how I mean, is it nationwide for the States at least? I'm curious if it goes outside of it. But we just had a thing where you'd read a book and then you get a free thing. Is that the way it worked? Or you just have to buy it from this Scholastic Book Fair pamphlet?
Yeah, the book thing was a different thing as far as I recall. They do it like once or twice a school year, and it was just like, here's a bunch of cheap books you can buy if you're a kid.
Okay. So it wasn't like the book it thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like getting a Pizza Hut personal pizza.
I think they're kind of blending in my mind. Yeah.
God, that was good.
I
can totally go for a personal pan pizza right now.
Well, good news, Brian. We like to hide snacks around the studio. Did you have a bunch of Mac games and stuff in yours?
I don't remember anything about games. I just remember what Ross is saying about, just a actual book fair where you get books to read.
Try it.
Get smart.
Yeah, like Animorphs, they'll make you smart. You can name a bunch of animals then because of them. Speaking of animals, I went to this Renaissance Festival recently.
Bunch of animals.
I got to ride an elephant.
Whoa.
Yeah, which I thought my nephews would be scared of.
At the Minnesota one?
Yeah.
Wow.
They have an
cool.
elephant that you can ride. And like, you sit on the elephant's back and you like feel its muscles under your butt. It's a weird, unique thing. Well, I was rubbing my ass on it. I guess naturally you do that when you ride anything.
Yeah, people don't talk about that aspect.
Yeah. But they had a peregrine falcon there, and this guy was just like showing it off, and it was like flying around and coming in and grab stuff. He told us this factoid that we probably learned as kids, but I forgot about, and I'm sure it's in an Animorphs book at some point. You know this peregrine falcon thing? When it's dive bombing to catch prey, it can go 240 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Wow.
Is that insane? That shouldn't be possible.
Seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot!
I heard
a
falcon in somewhere in the Middle East just sold for $250,000 because it's like big out there. There's like a
falconry scene?
A falconry scene like for hunting and stuff. And it's like horses where you will pay through the nose to get the best of the best.
Wait,
to help you hunt other things, right?
Yes.
So the falcon is worth $250,000 because it'll like find a rabbit for you? Like, how would it be that much better?
It's
it
like
can
a
go
drone.
241 miles per hour.
Oh, I see. It's a drone?
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed.
Oh,
it marks enemies for you.
Travis Manic writes over there on Patreon. They say, do you think that Ben, this is me you're talking to, Travis. Do you think that Ben has a less than experience by playing the game on Twitch and letting chat help him? Is the, quote, hit a wall until you have a fantastic eureka moment a crucial part of the genre that he may have missed out on?
No, because I think the other best way to play an adventure game, other than hit the wall and have a eureka moment, is to play it with people who are like, what about this idea? What about this idea?
Right. Yep.
And then like 90% of them are things that the game is like, what are you trying to do? But then there's one that usually works.
Yeah. So it has been great. It was weird playing with people because some people had like the hint books out or like the walkthroughs open. Not enough people had the walkthroughs open if you're asking me, but I still appreciate all the help we got. But it was weird because everyone was like lobbing out suggestions. It was like, okay, who knows what now? Like, are these guesses? Are these just the answers? Are these hints? And especially when you have like a bunch of people on Twitch screaming the answer very politely, but for something complicated, it's like it doubles your frustration. Like, everyone was screaming about how to make, we'll get into this, like the robot's arms moves with the chain certain directions.
God.
Like, you need to do this. No, lower gear, the one that looks like a red one, that goes in the lower right, and then it moves up there. I was like, I cannot handle this. My brain is going to explode from the process of streaming this. But it was still, I think it was a better way to go.
Yeah. By the way, the thumbnail that you put on, I think it was Twitter for about your stream was a screen that I did not go to in the entirety of the game.
Ooh.
I was like, what location is this? I have no idea.
I love it. Let's try and walk through this thing chronologically a little bit. Yodel, by the way, wrote in saying, I took the Wits path and I was a little bit disappointed with the visual variety. You go from the brown-gray visuals of the Labyrinth to the green-gray visuals of Atlantis. I know the other paths throw the submarine in between, which would have been a nice change of pace. I know I just said I wanted to go chronologically. I went through something here, which is very tempting to go out of chronological order. But, just in general, second half of the game, I guess we haven't covered it too much. Brian, what'd you think? Outside of it was hard, but just about how it compared to the first half and variety and fun and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly more... it felt more like indie final level with like big temples and mazes and danger. But yeah, it was markedly like no more like red lines on a map. It was just like very, very much linear. It wasn't like, let's zip around and try to solve some things.
Yeah.
It's very much just like, here's what you're doing now, here's what you're doing now, here's what you're doing now. And when I saw the sub, I'm like, we get the sub. It's like, I get that experience that Leo was talking about earlier. So it's kind of interesting to me how they kind of swap the order of things out like that. I wonder if there's any other examples.
Yeah, I'm curious to unpack it here as we kind of walk through it, because there's a lot of confusion about what exactly we all experience and how much we're on the same track and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to the sub again after this Crete part, but
Yeah.
I am curious if Leo already did the sub, then how you got to Atlantis.
There was like there was a raft part. Did we all do the raft part?
No.
I did the crab raft.
Oh,
but-
crab raft, yes.
The crab raft?
Just the crab raft. That's my
The
only
crab raft is in Atlantis, though,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So you took a raft to Atlantis, though?
Well, the person I watched do it took a raft to
Oh, yeah,
Atlantis.
that's
That's my understanding.
Interesting.
Was it a raging rapids or what kind of?
It was a lazy river, if anything.
Really?
And then
but it
there
looked
was just like a drain that they went down into Atlantis, or
No, it was pretty linear, but like going back and forth along the path. It was kind of looked like another labyrinth, and I kind of hit right arrow pretty fast for that.
sounds similar to
Visual
the crab
part.
raft.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if it's like the same mechanics or something. I don't
Interesting.
know.
Yeah.
What a weird deal.
I hope they got to skip the crab raft later if they already did the normal raft.
Yeah. But yeah, just in general, the second half did not enjoy nearly as much as I enjoyed the first half. And a lot of it was like the difficulty, yes. But then also just, what I want from adventure games is like a change of environment, change of scenery, and like people to talk to. And the fact that, for me at least, basically this chunk was just, here's one pretty big labyrinth on Crete, here's one pretty big labyrinth in Atlantis, and then a cool section at the end, And it's
Yeah.
like, it was pretty light on story in the second half. And like we talked about how nice it was in that first half to have those, kind of smaller environments. It's like, a couple screens you have to digest. But I guess that is made up for by being able to explore so many different places. But it seems like they are flipping it then of like, okay, we're only going to have a few locations, but they're going to be freaking massive now for the second
Very
half of the
large.
game.
Yeah.
If anything, it's all dead bodies that you come across. Like there's no NPCs left outside of the bad guys you're trying to outsmart.
Right.
And then even Sophia gets like kidnapped constantly if you're on the team.
Yep, kidnapped or trapped. Yeah. At what point did you reconnect with Sophia, if you did? Because she was with us. We're on the same path. She was with us on in the labyrinth and at Crete, and then kind of on the sub, and then in Atlantis for a fair amount of it.
There was like a prison room that she was being held in that I don't know if you saw, because the room probably still exists, but I imagine it was empty. But yeah, there was like a guard walking back and forth, and you have to reach your hand out of a vent and put orichalcum in a
Yeah. So that's in
statue's
Atlantis.
mouth.
Yeah, I assume we're all on the same page
Yeah,
there.
we did have to do that, right?
Graphically kill that guard.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Kind of terrifying.
But it looks so sweet to the statue swirling out there.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, it was, we found her in a pit in the Crete Labyrinth.
Oh, interesting.
She was just down there, because I think like it's just a pit and you could yell down there as Indiana Jones, like Echo or whatever, and then Sophia's like, is that you, Indiana Jones? She's like, I'm coming up. Also, I found the moonstone down here.
Oh.
Or the whatever it was. Yeah, I think it was the moonstone. No.
Yeah,
It
was that
the-
at the dig site? Is that what you're thinking about?
It was
not?
at the. I think for me it was the Crete because you go like we go together and we both went down the elevator.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I'm just gonna hang out here. I'll make sure that. Wait, no. She was stuck down there.
Yeah, she couldn't
'cause
climb the chain back up like Indy could through the waterfall.
Indy climbs the chain. Yeah.
Right,
Which
yeah, we
I
had to
like
use-
the waterfall. It was very pleasing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, we had to use the fish amulet to find her and all that stuff. Did you all do that?
No.
Okay, well, let's just touch on it real quick, and then we can work through chronologically, I swear. Yeah, so I had to find her with the fish amulet, which is like an amber fish that detected where the orichalcum was or whatever. So I needed to take the orichalcum, hide it in the lead-lined gold box, then specifically close the box. Otherwise, every time you use the fish, it would just say, it's pointing straight at me.
Yes.
It's pointing straight at me. So I had to close that, and then it was like, oh, the fish is detecting something over here. And you just need to use that in all the rooms before then you used it above the pit, and then it detected her because of her necklace, and I guess like the remnants of orichalcum on her necklace or whatever.
I had to make a detector out of a clothesline and a comb, and then rub the comb on a woolen scarf to statically charge it, and then if the
Really?
Orichalcum was in the gold box, so it
Okay.
couldn't detect
Why?
that. Then it would
I
detect the
read that.
secret
I was
door.
That's
coming into this
amazing.
on guard for you guys to make up some things, and I think that is made up because
Correct.
it sounds completely different.
2 truths and a lie. You got him.
That'd be fun if we each had to bring one fake.
Oh my god.
Just let it
There's
slide.
no way to tell because everything's equally ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we had to use the detector in a similar way, but to find where the end part of the labyrinth was, where the little city map model was. That's what we had to use it for. And you had to do it when Sophia was like away from you, I think, or at a certain point you can tell her to put her necklace in the box so that the detector works, and then you go in the correct room and find it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, kicking it off, Sam Danby writes in over on Patreon. They say, digging for the Moonstone was tough. I was misinterpreting the mural on Crete as what you see between the bull's horns, which was a door to a room with nothing inside. I was just walking in and out and pixel hunting for something that didn't exist. I really like how Indy says, better not... Oh, and then there's something else where he says, I really like how Indy says, better not forget these, and then goes and picks up the stones when you're leaving an area and moving on, by the way.
I liked that a lot too, and I wish it did it every time.
I know!
It mattered, because I ended up backtracking for so many things because I assumed he would pick them up.
100%. It's like you can't have him do that most of the time, and then
then
one
leave
time
them
he
at the door
doesn't.
to Atlantis.
Yes!
Yep, I had to go back and get those two.
Wow, just do that stupid raft thing.
Every time after he was like, better get those, I was like, oh yeah, I got to remember in the future to pick those back up after I use them, and I never did.
That
Pick
is
them
the
up one
biggest-
at a time, like pick up.
Yes.
Pick up.
That is the biggest lesson, is I just needed Twitch to constantly scream at me like, pick up the items after you use them. And it's just a good adventure game lesson in general. It's like you use something, you're like, great, moving on. It's like, no. Pick up the ladder after you use the ladder once. You're going to need it again and again and again.
I think the adventure
Lost a
game
lot of
rule
time
should
on
be
that.
you shouldn't use anything more than once.
Yeah?
I think it's...
Or it will
it
stay in
detracts
your
from how
inventory if you need to use it more than once, right? Yeah.
But I think it just detracts from how satisfying it is to go, oh, here's where that item goes. To then
Right.
have it be the solution to multiple things.
So did we all have the same Crete experience then, where you went to that dig site and had to try and survey from those rocks?
I went to Crete and walked around way far away, just explored every room, never found anything worthwhile, and then looked on my hint book and saw that you're just, in my run, in the Wits Path, you just interact with the statue pedestal at the dock and go right into the maze, and you don't do anything
my
on all of Crete.
God.
And it's so
What?
long to walk through all of that.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, that's... The multiple pass thing is amazing, but also that's where it bites you in the butt. Is like there's this huge space, and you're like, oh, how am I supposed to know that this is a zero?
That's right.
for
I
me?
remember you saying last time that you already had the Moonstone. And you were
Exactly.
like, Moonstone?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, we had to do a puzzle with like survey equipment. And I thought that was one of the better puzzles
really?
in the game. Yeah, it was. I was able to understand what it was trying to tell me, I guess, and correctly place the survey transom or whatever that's called.
Transit?
And click on the right thing, and then it makes a little imaginary line out.
It's like a little black and white. And it's like beep, 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 beep. Like it goes to the right spot. Maybe I just was having a tough time trying to understand the logic of what was happening. But even with Twitch yelling at me the answers, I was still just flummoxed about what. So I'm lining this up with this side of the bullhorn, and like it wasn't working that I needed to move one frame different. So there's like a hairline gap for one of the horns, but not the other. It felt very finicky. And even when those lines came out, I was still like, okay, so I'm doing it where they crossed in the past. That's where I dig.
Yeah, did it make an X on the screen then for you just to go
think
walk
it did.
to after
I
you
think
get
it
both
did.
of them?
Yeah.
That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was told exactly what to do, and I still was like trying to hit the horn, and it was like, that looks like dirt. And I'm like, if I was really trying to figure this out, I would have just like moved on. I was like, well, I must be doing it wrong.
Yeah.
This must be barking up the wrong tree. So
I guess it's randomized too, because there's some stuff about like, I was trying, those rocks were so frustrating because everyone was like, oh, just interact with the rocks. It's like, it's not level. I can't set it on these rocks over and over again. And then like, I swear to God, it's one of those things where I tried it, walked away, tried it again, and then it worked the second time, which is just the kiss of death in all these adventure games.
Oof, you're 1 pixel too far away.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, it's a really frustrating
I had a
spot.
much tougher time after getting the Moonstone, lining up the Sunstone and the Moonstone to get into the labyrinth, because I kept like trying to do them in relation to the bullhorns at the top of the screen rather than to do the Sunstone first and then the Moonstone in relation to how you had turned the Sunstone. So that was something where I just brute forced it finally until I got it, and then was like, oh, this is how I was supposed to think of it.
Yeah. Peter Naujox was playing along, and they say, I enjoyed the story, setting, and gameplay for this game very much, but the puzzles involving the 3 stone discs wrecked me every time they came up.
It's interesting because that is another random thing of how they're ordered, but I really liked it. I thought going into the book and deciphering those paragraphs of what they meant, I thought that was like an interesting, straightforward puzzle that felt very Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I think throughout this entire section, throughout the entire game, like every time you have to go back to the book, it's like, oh, I love Last Crusade. Just the idea of like leaping to the little diary, it felt very natural.
Yep. And then did you guys get the only contrary thinkers can go into Atlantis? That was a fun little clue where you just like everything's opposite. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And it was crazy. Like I had to load a bunch of old saves and stuff, yada, yada, yada. But it was crazy like seeing the hints, especially in the end in Atlantis, where it's like they have the big circular hint on the wall up there. Like that is completely different if you load your save and go back into that room. Like that hint is different because they're randomizing the puzzle. Like so much of this game is randomized for locations, for items, but even to that level, it's like, were they that scared of walkthroughs online? Is that the idea? Or why?
I don't know. I don't think it is. I mean, it is interesting to have those random elements to be like, even if you're looking at a walkthrough, you have no choice but to be pulled in and like try to engage with the game. I think that is an interesting reason to do it. Yeah. But I think with the 3 paths and honestly the long labyrinth section and stuff, it does feel like they wanted replayability.
Yeah, and I think just because this game was created before the era of like fan-made walkthroughs or anything like that, that it probably wasn't a concern. Like they're like, hey, if anybody needs help, they'll call 1-800-STAR-WARS.
That's right. That's the way it goes. Yeah.
Right.
Darkfish Days writes in and says, a small detail I loved was in Crete while using the transit view. If I panned around, I could see Sophia waving.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. On top of that, Sophia's position in the transit view matches where she's standing next to Indy in the dig site, which obviously helps orient players, but it still seems like a step beyond what the game needed to do. Also, shout out to the animation of Indy climbing up the waterfall in Crete. That was awesome.
Yep.
It was really good.
That was cool.
To see that cool water bulge as he's working his way up there.
Yeah.
I hate getting wet.
I love that. That was my favorite thing in games is when they talk about like the temperature of the water. Like I always love that in the Tomb Raider reboot that Laura's always like, the water's so cold. It's like, it makes it more immersive. And so I love that in this one, that Indy, he's like, oh, water, bear. Which was very close to like, it's a key thing. But it's very close to Temple of Doom. How, God, what is her name? Bobby? Millie?
Willie?
In Temple of Doom, she has the same thing. She's like, I hate water. And they're like in the raft, which I just, flying back from San Francisco on the plane, I was like, I should watch Temple of Doom because it was on there. So I watched that thing again.
Oh, nice.
There's a chance I've only sat through that entire movie like twice even in my life. And so it was nice to get refreshed and all that stuff just to feel like, okay, in comparison to the game, how does Indy actually react, albeit in the weirdest Indiana Jones movie?
Yeah, what was your takeaway from watching it again?
Loved it. There's so many little things that I forgot. Even like the fact that club in the opening is called Club Obi-Wan.
Yep.
It's like, okay, the Chinese club. All right, we got it. It's confusing watching it again. Like, why is Willie even here? Like she was going after the diamond in kind of that opening scramble, and maybe you can help me with this. But then she just like is kind of thrown out the window with Indy, and it's kind of we gotta go. But like, why is she getting on that plane with him? Like, it's a little unclear because she even complains later, like, I had a house in Shanghai. I love my place in Shanghai. It's like, well, Indy wasn't like physically carrying you. Yeah, don't get on the death plane. What are you doing, buddy? But yeah, there's so many little things that I loved. Like there's a shot when they're on their elephants, and I love that Indiana Jones just has the biggest elephant imaginable. You know, me and Indy, fellow elephant riders, I feel like I really like him.
Right.
But he had this great moment where he just like, it's a long shot where he just like climbs down from the elephant, then walks into the camera really close. But just him getting down off the elephant, and he's like using the elephant's leg like a ladder. Harrison Ford makes it look like the most comfortable, easy thing in the world to get down from like this 30-foot tall elephant. Like any other actor, I feel like would be scrambling. It's like, how many takes do you have, man? Because it's a long shot.
Yeah, it's not his first elephant rodeo, obviously.
I know.
Did you feel lame getting off your elephant?
Oh,
like
very
you didn't
lame. I didn't do it like Indy at all. Yeah, I just kind of fumbled over it in a big pile of elephant poop and piss.
Oh, owie, my butt. I missed the elephant.
It's the first thing I typically say when getting out of an elephant.
You had the elephant poop on you after you fell off, too?
That's right. But man, I really love Temple of Doom. But there is that section. I think they're just really proud of their set, but like, I feel like for my own sanity, I would trim like 20 minutes out of that movie. Because like when they first start to see the Kali performance and rituals, and just like, there is just that oppressive chunk where it's that basically until the minecart ride.
Yeah.
Where it's just, okay, mind control indie. We're just getting darker and darker and darker and darker. And it's overwhelming. I understand why like audiences back in the day are like, what is this? It's oppressive. And then it ends on a super fun note. Like the bridge stuff is awesome. The minecart's obviously awesome. But like, does anybody like mind control in the movie? Even like Avengers when they have like the pokey stick. It's like
you're just waiting for the hero to, break free, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it turns out the answer was burn them a little bit with a stick in Temple of Doom, and then they turn back. But I did like there's a reference from a Nazi guard later on in this game, and since it was in a fight, I don't know if you all saw it, but he was like, the legendary Indiana Jones. You're the one who recovered the Shankara stones and found the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. Like, he knew about everything? Or it's like, how did you know about the Shankara stones?
Yes.
Like, that seems like a deep cut for a weird random
Nazis weren't
Nazi.
involved here.
Yeah, exactly.
Seen the movies.
Oh, that's right. He did mention that. I'm a big fan of your work. Spencer Bottin says, after reading the note on Sternhardt's corpse in the labyrinth, I tried to put it in my inventory, to which Indy retorted, it's his note, let him keep it. Sure, Indy.
Take all his other stuff.
Yeah. I did like that, like, when the note for Sternhardt there, that they actually went back to his voice and, like, got the VO from the actual actor for that section. Mm-hmm. It was nice to see Sternhardt return, even as a corpse, in this part in Crete. I thought for sure he'd be, like, a factor in some way moving forward.
He got what was coming to him, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. He'd been down there for weeks, like, starved to death, apparently, or
He's
whatever.
already pure white bones. No flesh left on that body.
Yeah.
All right, I have a puzzle question for, I guess, maybe just Ben.
Yeah.
The 3 stone heads at the start of the labyrinth.
Oh, God, yeah.
Those existed in your version.
Yep.
Okay. That was where I had to use a guide because I could not figure out that I had to whip in from the other room to get the third one.
I feel like there's 1,000 parts of the game that I'm amazed you got by, and like that one stood out. But yeah, that was a stumper for me too, because I had some sort of like pole or like rod or something where I'm like, okay, well, put this in the door, and it just wouldn't let me do it again and again and again.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, that's why you can see that statue head from the other side of the door.
Yep. I was like, oh yeah, I should have thought of that. But yeah, I was stuck thinking about like, there's some combination of heads where the door will remain open, and then I can go back and get one like that. That fox and chicken puzzle that's in every Professor Layton game where you're going across a river on a boat.
Right.
I was like, it's something like that, I bet. But no, you just whip it from the other room.
I truly cannot believe that you made us do this game and only looked things up twice. That is bananas to me.
Can we go over the 2 moments?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was that one. It was whipping that head for whatever reason.
Wow.
I somehow made it through the gear puzzle. Because I had closed that cupboard for whatever reason because it was open.
And you saw that.
And I was like, okay, this looks like this thing that
Atlantis,
I have in my inventory. So I was able to do that, and then you could just trial and error through it.
Yeah.
The other spot that I had to do it was going back after rescuing Sophia from the cage in Atlantis. You put that hinge pin, I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
Didn't consider taking that with me. So my classic thing of leaving things behind and not picking them up came back
It's
and got
wedged
me.
in the door. Why would you? Yeah.
Yep. So you need that thing for the tank that you have to put the 2 levers in. And I was like, this torch wand I have has to work. It's a lever.
Yep.
There's got to be some way I can make that work. Something else. I never considered that you could go back and get the hinge pin that you saved her with.
So after the climax of the game, pretty much, where the villains die, that's when you find the tank, right?
No.
That's
before
the
that?
thing just before the end game.
Yeah, you're working your way to kind of the last area in Atlantis.
Okay.
Yeah, with that. God, there was a puzzle. I don't know how the hell you solved this, because it's that complete nonsensical thing, and it was the one on Crete, which, by the way, was almost more of a labyrinth to me than the quote-unquote labyrinth, because just point of view-wise, like, it was a pain in the ass to get through that big maze, but it was hardly like a maze, you know? It's like you could see exactly
You just find the
where
right
you need to go.
grate to get into the other
Right,
rooms that
yeah.
you can't make it from the map. Yeah.
But when Crete, where it's just like, okay, here's a room with 4 doors, you gotta remember which door goes to where, that was a lot for my brain to handle. But it was one of those where there's just like a big stone door, and you try pushing it or opening it, and it's like, it's too heavy. Then it turns out you just need to like use it like 7 times. Do you know what I'm talking about? Was there some hint that I missed? Because like you try to open it a second time, and then Indy's like, it's maybe kind of moving a little bit.
No, that was not a thing in our playthrough. I don't know.
I don't remember that.
There is a
That's
part.
really bizarre.
It's probably the same part where we have Sophia with us, and there's a hole up in the wall that you need her to crawl into to get to the other side to open the door.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to do that. And the solution is you just keep hassling her.
Oh, that sucks.
Until she does it. And I was like,
horrible.
I've never had a adventure game where the solution was you just need to harass your NPC partner until they do the thing that they should be doing.
That's not good game design.
Yeah, I was basically just like, she's like, well, you're afraid of snakes. Why don't? It's like, he's like, yeah, so what? He's like not denying it.
Yes.
She's like, oh, fine.
Yes, exactly. With that one, I was able to get through it because it's always new dialogue options, so I hadn't exhausted all of them. So you just keep clicking on the new stuff that shows up. And then she was like, oh, I guess I'll do it.
Were there any Nazis in the Crete area for y'all?
No,
don't
not
think
until you get to you complete the labyrinth, and then they show up behind you, and they're like, we've kidnapped her. And
I didn't get that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there were
Hand over
Nazis.
the stones, Jones.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this entire area, there were Nazis in there. And the brutal part is that it turns out some Nazis, there's just no way you can beat in a fight. So you basically are automatically getting a game over if you get in a fight with them, which I feel like this game in the beginning should be like, by the way, save often, or give you some hints, because if you weren't saving a lot, you'd just be screwed going against these Nazis, and game over, turns out I've lost everything. And so you go up against Nazis, you go up against two separate Nazis named Hans and Franz.
Nice.
Okay, they're
Topical.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And then if you lose to them on the game over screen, did you ever see the game over screen? Oh, fun. Every time there's a game over screen, it has just a bit of text and tells you what happened in that timeline or whatever if it continued. So if you lose to Hans, it says Hans turned Indy over to Kerner and was decorated for valor. Indy was shot on the spot.
Good for Hans, though.
That's cool, yeah. But there's good stuff like the trick for I think it's Hans and Franz is you have to get them to come down this long hallway, and then there's big stone slabs, and you hide behind one of them, and then when he's walking in front of you, because you can't beat him in a fist fight, you have to wait for him to walk in front of you, and then you push the big stone slab over onto him and crush him.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's another one where you have to get above a Nazi who's also unbeatable in a fight, and you have to push a stalactite. And the Nazi's like, what's this? And just a stalactite comes down and kills him.
Like Hot Fuzz?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more brutal, but it's like, oh no, I guess that's the least gory way you can be impaled by a stalactite. But and then I think Indy looks at him and he says Stone Age solution to a Stone Age man.
That's a good line. I did see that you were able to do a little whip swinging action in that labyrinth. Too, right?
Interesting.
Oh,
yeah. Somebody wrote in about that. Noah Howell says, I really dug the game outside of some of the more obtuse puzzle solutions. I think playing on Steam Deck was a great fit, and now I want to try the other LucasArts remasters on it. I have to say, though, I can't believe I didn't use the whip once to swing across a gap at any point in the game. Also, I hope Indy told Heimdall's family about his frozen corpse night. No, Indy's not interested in any
that guy's
corpses.
long in the rearview mirror.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I saw this comment. I'm like, well, that's incorrect because you use it in Crete to get across that gap, and it's a very satisfying moment. But you guys didn't do that?
Nope, did not have that option. I would. I'm glad I got to see it on your. Whatever you
in that
posted.
clip. Yeah.
Just
That's so
whipping
funny.
statue heads is all we were up to.
Well, I guess I did a fair bit of that too. That's crazy that even on Crete, I guess it hasn't converged fully because it's still Sophia or no Sophia.
Right.
And then that's what leads to the changes. Or I'd love to see just room by room exactly why you didn't get to access that jump over the gap area.
Yeah, I mean there was a gap, like a hole in a room, but you could get around it just in the labyrinth by going, through a few different doors.
Yeah, I had to take the long way around.
Did you see the was there like a boulder room where you can push a boulder down a whole thing?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, it's very much
think
the
so.
boulder from Raiders. And there's an old German huge buff guy named Arnold, of course, and he's just singing the entire time. Like whenever you get near that screen, like even if you're like one screen away, you can just hear him belting out these like drinking tunes and stuff and drinking songs. So you go up to him and talk to him about drinking songs. And you can like offer suggestions. And I think he starts singing it based on your suggestions and stuff. And then that solution is you need to like go back and do the boulder stuff and have the boulder run all the way down. And then it's funny because you hear him singing and then you hear the boulder crush him. It's like, This is a really quick cutoff for it.
I feel kind of bad about it.
They're Nazis, Brian.
Well,
But he at least had
was
some
nice,
personality.
right?
And I think even like if you die to him, because you can fight him as well, and he just destroys you. But they say something. Yeah, it says. Arnold went on to become a world famous opera singer, like for the game over screen. When you had to
These game over screens seem pretty fun.
They are fun.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
You have to check it out.
One thing I want to say about Crete and the Labyrinth is that I liked how they incorporated like Greek mythology into this in like the subtle way where like the Minoans and the Minotaur and all that were there's a Minotaur statue and all that, and it's like related, like it's never said out loud as far as I could tell, but it's related to how the Atlanteans were using their colossus to change people into little horned guys or whatever. So obviously that those people, some of them were living in the labyrinth or underground on Crete, and that's what became the Greek myth.
Oh, that's the smartest thing I've heard about this game yet. That's
So
amazing.
like the one beaters.
Maybe if you spent 14 hours, you would also have enough time to think of these things.
So the one beaters are the ones that turn into minotaurs, basically.
Yeah.
The one beaters.
beaters.
We'll get to that.
Yes.
I love it. That's really smart. I hadn't even connected that, but for sure. McCrack Kenway says, okay, first off, I have to tell you all that potsherds are the correct archaeological term for shards of broken pottery. I've been on a couple excavations in the Middle East, and all the archaeologists I've ever met are very insistent that it's sherds and not shards. I think this is like writers and chomping at the bit versus champing at the bit, where it's just something that's, it's technically champing. I'm sure all archaeologists are like, it's sherds. By the way, Mick Kenway, write in more about you going on archaeological digs in the Middle East. I would like to. This seems very relevant for this.
Yeah.
But they say, also, I got as far as the end of Crete. I called Kerner's bluff, and then I got shot. Being used to modern autosaves, I hadn't saved the game since the Seance with Trottier right before a silly test. This feels like a very authentic adventure game experience.
Oh, that would suck.
So what happens? Because for me, it's like you finish the whole maze in Crete or whatever, and then they're just looking out the window, and it's like, oh, it turns out we need to go to Thera. Is that the name of it? Thessa? I think it's Thera something. Like let's go to that island. And then you just take the boat right up there.
This is something I was wondering about, because Thera I went to in the first half.
Oh, with the Greek captain? With the boat captain? Was he there?
Yeah, the guy on the dock who you like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what?
He's the guy I got the ingredients for the hot air balloon for.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yes.
it. Okay.
But yeah, I went straight from the maze to Atlantis in this.
Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, so it was just a quick detour then of I went up there with Sophia, and then we came back down, and he's the one who like brought us in the boat to where Atlantis is. And then we dove into Atlantis, and then the Nazi submarine showed up, and they captured Sophia from that boat. Because it turns out that captain was working with the Nazis.
Okay.
Yeah, for us, the captain of the sub was... Or you're saying the boat captain was a Nazi secretly, or the sub captain was a
The
secret?
boat captain was like being paid off by the
Yeah,
Nazis.
I think the sub-captain was an overt Nazi.
Yeah, not hiding it at all.
Yeah. And you beat him up off screen is what we did.
Yeah.
Like the sub is parked at the dock.
In
at
Crete?
Crete, yep. And they kidnap Sophia from the end of the labyrinth. They like lock you in a room, and you've got to just like use the ship rib on a loose wall, and then you can just climb out of there. So it's a pretty, just a pretty throwaway puzzle.
Good old ship.
I used the ship rib way more than the whip. It was constantly in use.
Indiana Jones' new classic weapon.
Iconic.
Every kid wants a ship rib. Wait, so then what? Well, hang on. There's a lot of submarine stuff to unpack here. Tim Turry writes in. This Tim Turry fella.
Hey.
And by the way, in the Patreon post for comments, I say, make sure your comment's the length of a tweet. And Tim, social media superstar, he disregarded that. But thank you for listening, Tim. He says, first off, hi.
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 Hey.
Secondly, let me say how tickled I was to see this game get picked for the deepest dive. I grew up infatuated with this game, and it helped crystallize Indy's impact on me as a kid. This game inspired me to be him one year for Halloween. Did you know you can use a burned wine cork as a makeshift makeup to simulate a 5 o'clock shadow?
No.
There we go.
Nice.
Well,
I need to use makeup to simulate.
yeah, you can't see. Maybe if it was 4K, you'd be able to see that it's mainly burned cork all over Brian Boy's face. But while you're probably knee-deep in conversations about the tricky Atlantis maze, I wanted to reflect on the submarine sequence. The moment absolutely captured my imagination as a kid, and I think it serves a great role in the game. Do any of you feel a sense of relief and excitement when getting captured or trapped in an adventure game? I think it's something about suddenly being confined to a single small space with a focused escape room-esque puzzle to solve it. It offers a sense of reassurance that you're on the right path, that you don't have to worry about missing any key items to solve it. In this case, Indy's having to improvise his way off a Nazi sub is perfection. Making a sub sandwich on a sub? That's gold! Plus, he torpedoes himself deeper into enemy territory years before Solid Snake. And, speaking of Metal Gear Solid, the interrogation/jail cell moment stands out as a similar adventure game moment that I loved. Thanks. I love Fate of Atlantis, and I love you all for picking it. Also, I love Sophia. My God, bold declaration.
Beautiful.
She is wonderful.
I get
What
what
does
he's
he
saying.
say about torpedoing himself?
Yeah.
So that was in your section, Liam?
Yes, that was when I was on the
What?
submarine. You have to find the instructions for the torpedo launcher, and you can't read them, but you have to use them with the lever to launch it to then be able to comprehend and go, now I know how to launch this. And then you have to get in a torpedo tube. After you tie a clothesline to the lever, get in the tube, close yourself in, and then pull the clothesline.
Oh my
That sounds
God.
like a great puzzle. We could like inspect the torpedo tubes, and I was like, "Ooh, we're gonna be torpedoing into Atlantis."
Yeah.
and then
Next time.
we just unfortunately had to steer the sub, which was not fun.
So did you
So
have to make a sub sandwich as well then? Did you talk about that last week?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
made a sub sandwich and ate it in front of the guard.
Okay, and that's the same thing for you all?
It
you're
sounded
just
like
gonna-
he was eating an apple while he was chomping on that
A
sandwich.
very gross eating, really long.
The crunchiest sandwich that's ever been made.
So it was basically the same, of being locked and confined in this little space and trying to get out of it? Like,
I was never locked up. I beat the guy up immediately
Okay.
and took his outfit and was in disguise for the whole subsequence.
We spent the whole time. So Sophia was locked up, and we were like sneaking around, trying to. We said, "Hey, everybody, go to the bow." And then you
why are you... So you snuck onto the submarine?
We
Yeah.
beat up the captain, and then we got on the live thing and just got all the guards to like.
Yep.
Okay.
And no one on a Nazi submarine will ever go up to the captain's station to see that it's the real captain and not Indiana Jones.
Right.
So you can go on the intercom and order them to do anything that the game
In an
allows
American
you to do.
accent.
They won't question it.
That's perfect.
Which I guess is classic Nazi.
Which and Harrison Ford, like no one buys his like fake guard voice as famously from Star Wars.
Right.
How
Not
are you?
great with impersonation. Sam Danby writes in and says, the submarine was my favorite part of the back half. So many creative solutions within such a small space. I really love the part where you stand behind Sophia from the next room and she talks to you while pretending to be possessed to throw off the guard.
Yes.
So she's like, Nurab Saul is speaking through me. or
Yeah,
whatever.
and the guard's like, "Ooh, tell me more," or whatever. And yeah, and she's like giving you instructions. And I thought there was going to be a more complicated like solution to saving her, but it's just that you tell her, "Hey, distract him," and then you walk around to the other side and talk to him, and then you
Overtly to start a conversation.
yes, yeah, and then you like hint to her to pick up the bucket next to her and like hit him over the head.
Okay. So then the sub you take straight to Atlantis.
Yes, you drive it there through a thing, and yeah, it took
If it were only that simple.
yes, that took me a long time to figure out that when you're steering, if you just hit the same direction on the steering wheel, you will just go kind of in a circle,
It's like the hot air balloon controls again.
sort of, except
Way worse.
this is side scrolling and you need to figure out a way to get your depth correct, like depth of field, sort of. So you need to alternate either side of the steering wheel so that the sub will go back into the screen and appear smaller from your side scrolling perspective so that it can fit in the tiny like airlock
Just
door.
a little cave that you're aiming for, and it's like trying to get that depth. I'm like, I got it this time, baby, and it's like right in front of it. Okay, now it can't go wrong. Behind it, and I'm like, and
Yes.
to unlock, you have to unlock the controls in the first place. Like you have to like, what does this do? And it's like, now you have the ability to use this lever, and what about this? And you know, like you have to go around the whole sub and unlock all the controls, and it's like, I guess I can control it now.
Oh, weird.
After all that, one thing I don't want to skip past is there's a part where you get like beer stein and fill it up with battery acid. I'm like, good God, am I going to melt this guy's face off?
It's kind of his thing, is melting Nazi's faces.
So I was kind of relieved when it was just like, oh, just bang him in the head with a bucket.
Yeah, you were thinking it was going to be like, Sophia, trick him into drinking this.
It's okay, they're Nazis. Don't feel bad, Sophia.
Yes.
It's cool.
Yeah, that Stein, by the way, it could hold acid, and then I was like, oh, this could definitely hold lava, and it couldn't hold lava.
Oh, fun.
Oh.
Matt Rogers writes in and says, as a kid, I loved reading the comics every day in the morning paper. So I was delighted with the Dagwood Bumstead reference
Yes.
when I looked at the sandwich I made on the submarine. I love the Deepest Dive format, and thanks for giving a forum where a random dated reference like this can be celebrated. Yeah, we're here to celebrate Dagwood with you, Matt Rogers. What is the reference? Does he say it looks like the character or something? Or
It was something like something Dagwood Bumstead would be happy to eat or something like that.
Yeah. Blondie was a real cultural touchstone in '92, I guess.
Right. Everyone was talking about it for sure. God, I really had to look up that character to be like, oh yeah, Blondie. I haven't thought about that art for a long time. Do you remember Blondie?
Yeah, I remember specifically Dagwood and specifically that he liked big sandwiches, and that's it.
Wow.
As a kid, I didn't understand that he loved like taking a nap on the couch, but I've grown into that.
It's like, yeah, I don't want to take a nap. That sounds dumb.
Yeah.
I'm bored of sandwich agenda, but yeah, but now I'm just like, oh my God, a nap sounds perfect.
Yes, but that sandwich I never found a use for the whole rest of the game, other than I could
Really?
eat half of it.
You can use, I believe, the cold cuts or bread as bait for the crabs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I
Maybe the
used
full
a
sandwich too?
bratwurst, which I got from beating up a Nazi.
I did. That was the only fight I got into in the entire game.
Oh, really?
Was with that Nazi roaming around, and I was like, well, I'll just see what this is like, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he dropped the bratwurst, and I was like, oh, lucky I did that, because I would have never been able to get the crab bait.
Have you been getting loot from these fights? Or is that
Just
a one-off
bratwurst.
thing?
No, it's just in the maze. Yeah, you just get bratwurst. I think
Okay.
that's mainly it. Because, yeah, I think after normally you drop them, you can search them, and I always do, but there's never anything there.
Yes, I did not try the sandwich for the crabs, though, so maybe that works, I guess.
Maybe.
So, yeah, for me, on Thera, I got like a tire repair kit. I assume y'all didn't get this. Like up in the mountains, there's just a tire repair kit. And I brought that back down and then went out, and the captain was going to drop me off. And it's kind of fun. Like, he's, believe it or not, he's like, Atlantis doesn't exist. What are you talking about? It's like, no, you have to go 33 miles south. And you have to like do the math to figure out where you actually want to be dropped off. And then he's like, well, all right, but I officially get to claim all the beautiful, bountiful treasure from Atlantis. I claim this site. And he's like, yeah, go ahead and have it. So I was hoping that would come back in some way. And I was like, oh, does this guy who sided with the Nazis get to like claim the treasure of Atlantis? But spoilers, it all disappears. But so then I thought I was so smart because he has like a diving suit, like a big classic BioShock diving suit type of thing. But there was a hole in it. And I was like, oh, it's going to be like Rocketeer. I can put the gum in the hole to like plug it. And no, turns out it wasn't the gum. That you actually need to, of course, use a tire repair kit on the diving suit. But then it's like a fun animation of Indy being put in that suit and then like dropped in. So it's like perfect gift material if you have a show called The Deepest Dive.
Right.
It's exactly what we need here. So, and then we are in Atlantis,
Yes.
I suppose. Although there's a part of me, I didn't want to ask, like this entire section, because I was here for, I think it was like 3 hours. Like I was just exhausted by the end of it, all in this labyrinth. But there's a part of me that didn't even want to ask the Twitch chat, like, is this it? Is this Atlantis? Like I don't think they've ever really had the moment of like, this is it, Atlantis, in a big way, or like it didn't seem impactful. So there was a part of me that was dreading, like, if this is as cool as Atlantis looks, I'm gonna be so bummed. But thank God the ending actually looked really cool and unique. So it's just kind of just the outer ring of Atlantis.
Yeah, when you start off and you are in the dark in the airlock area, was that how it was for you guys as well? Like, you're like, oh, as soon as these lights come on, we're going to have a big grand Atlantean vista and it's going to look impressive, but that didn't happen.
It's like an Atlantean warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophia was like, Indy, get your hands off of me. And he's like, whoa. And she's like, wow, it's not Indy. It's a bad guy taking me. Bye.
Oh,
Yes.
and then she's gone.
Yeah, there was kind of a couple of creepy indie moments in the second
He's
half
a big
of the game.
he's a big kisser.
Aggressive
Yep.
kissing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even that. He was like, really early on, before they had even their first kiss, he's like, how's this for a date?
Yep.
One time. Yep.
Yeah,
And
she's
then-
like, this isn't a date.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other one, he was like, you look great in this light. or something like that. And it's like, that's kind of weird indie.
Yeah, the very, I guess it's beyond 80s, but I always associate that kind of forced kissing. That's probably a better way to phrase that. But like with very much Indiana Jones type of thing. And I guess I think of like, Han Solo doing it in Empire Strikes Back and stuff. But then it's like, it's cool because at a certain point the girl likes it and then lifts her leg up.
Yes.
I was like, I don't think I've ever kissed somebody so good that they lift a leg up.
We all have.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone but you.
When they like it,
Is surprise
It's
the
like a
crucial
dog's
factor?
tail waving. Damn it! Oh, I missed this all my life. Where does that come from? Is it just like, did the nurse do that in World War II, like that classic sailor picture? I don't think so.
I think she was more reclined. It must have happened in one movie, and then it got a laugh, and then every movie ever.
Is it a laugh
Just
thing?
became cinematic language for like, she's super into this kiss.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, they need to like have some way to show like, outside of her just
Without
being
her
like,
breaking off
yummy.
being like, yes, great job.
Part 2, please. No.
just give a thumbs up to the camera.
Indy. T writes in and says, boy, that maze in the second half of Atlantis was tedious. Has a maze in a video game ever been good?
Interesting. I feel like
So-
we're using maze and labyrinth interchangeably,
We
and
are.
that makes it hard to talk about.
Yeah.
You're right.
Since there are
I
both in
consider
the
the
sequel.
labyrinth the Crete one because that's like the mythological labyrinth.
Okay,
And then,
that explains some
interesting.
confusion because I've been.
Yes.
I considered it the opposite. Okay,
and then
yeah.
this person might be referring to the second half of Atlantis where you're just going in and out the doors.
I didn't think that was that bad. It seemed
Took
It
me a
wasn't
while
bad, but
some
for
reason.
like the climax of the game, it was like this is
Yeah.
how far games have come that this gameplay, the climax of this Indiana Jones title, is now the Luigi's Mansion minigame in Mario Party.
yeah, I knew it seemed familiar. That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I almost feel like the intent of the designers was, okay, here we're going to trick them here. They're going to be so focused on the doors that they won't see the mural
Right.
of the sunstone
That could be.
positioning. And I feel like maybe that was the whole idea, but I just was going in and out of doors for too long for that to...
The maze concept, though, in a game, I think we talked about it on the Min-Max Show podcast not too long ago, but I don't think mazes have ever been good at games. Even like something as great as Yoshi's Island, like that whole underground maze thing, I hate it so much. I think I'd go so far as to say, ghost houses, eat my butt. Do people like ghost houses in Mario?
Give me one per game, and it's a nice change of pace, but yeah.
I feel like, Mario World, I think, had a reasonable amount of ghost houses, and it was a fun alternate paths. But yeah, it's not like I was clamoring to go back to those.
Yeah.
I just memorized them all. And
Yeah, these days when I think of mazes and games, I think of Willow for NES, which we played a couple of years ago, where every single like dungeon in the game is just a maze. That's all it is. It's
Wow.
so obnoxious by the end of it.
Arcade Willow's pretty good, by the
Yes.
way. Yeah. Leo, you look stunned when I said ghost houses.
I've never heard that term before in my life. What is
What?
What are those?
Like from Mario?
Yeah.
Leo, you're in one right now. It's the bad Mario levels where it's, I don't know, have you played the 2D Mario games? You're not a Mario guy.
Apparently not that deep.
Yeah.
it's like
certainly played the
all
first couple worlds.
there's little ghosts, and if you look at them, they go, because they're shy. They're shy guys.
Yeah.
And then,
But not Shy Guys.
not shy guys, but they are shy as well.
And guys.
And then when you turn your back, then they start holding after you.
Yep.
Or they'll like form into a circle with only one opening, which seems like a flaw. And it spins around and you have to hop in there. And then there's usually just like a secret exit way up high or a hidden door that you can like throw a block on the ground and like, boom, 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 and like
Yeah, it's all about not knowing exactly how to get out of it,
Yeah.
and you're just like hunting through every area trying
They've
to
been
find the right
highly
exit.
influential in every bad part of every other game. But people who grew up think that they're good.
There's also really great spooky music. in
Well, the
there.
music's no joke, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You probably know that music, even if you don't know them.
Yeah, and I feel like I know that. I just didn't make the connection with mazes to really
Yeah.
understand what we're talking about.
No one does. Spencer writes in and says, one moment of design that impressed me was when you had to use the fish head statue to direct the lava flow into the stone cup. You can actually choose to destroy the clay pot here instead of the cup, but if you do, the lava will destroy it. This is a really smart use of an item that is no longer needed. It helped me understand that I just needed to find a better vessel to hold the lava. I just wish there wasn't also a puzzle where you had to combine a skeleton's rib cage with a sandwich to make a crab trap to feed an octopus. That was the one thing that finally broke me and sent me running for the hint book.
Oh my gosh.
It is confusing because the crabs are everywhere.
Yes, and you can't interact with them.
They're not afraid of you. You could easily reach down and be like, got one.
Right.
Yep.
It's
And
not
then
like-
also it was a
but-
bad combo because there's bones everywhere. I forget if it was on Crete or Atlantis. And I kept trying to interact with it, and he's like, I don't think we need any bones in my inventory. And then it's like, oh, but these ribs, I'll take those. It's like, what?
No bones for me unless they're in cage form.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Gotta go full cage.
I don't want a crab unless it's from the crab room.
Yeah, that crab room also, you can put the eel statue into it and heat it up, and I was like, okay, there's nothing, this doesn't do anything for me. And I think he does give you like a negative statement, like, I can't catch a crab that way. But I was like, did I just ruin all the crabs? And how long has it been since I saved?
Hot eel never caught a crab.
But if you go out of the room and back in, it's back to normal. with all the
okay,
water in
gotcha.
it, luckily.
Garrett Hullfish says, it's subtle, but the animation I appreciated most in the game was during the Labyrinth of Atlantis. Here you can use a bratwurst to trap a crab inside a skeleton's ribcage. I don't recall any other items in your inventory having an animation, but the little fella will poke out of the ribs and snap his claws. This little bit of life made me feel bad when I had to feed that octopus.
Yes, I remember that animation. It was really cool. And yeah, I'm also glad that we now know 2 concrete solutions for distracting a killer octopus. 1, crab in a rib cage. Number 2, Walkman with some cool tunes playing, like in Goonies. You guys know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I saw it once and I didn't really remember. Spencer, though, also says, I was trying to get through the game without any help, and I didn't quite make it, but drawing maps with labels for the circular and lava mazes really helped. And for me, enhanced the adventure/archaeology fantasy. I previously drawn maps for myself in the first 2 Zelda and Metroid games, but never for an actual Indiana Jones adventure, which felt pretty cool. Did anyone else draw maps? I didn't, but I kind of felt like I should have.
That is cool.
Especially in Crete. Yeah, you would feel more like indie.
Yeah.
You're right.
That would have been good to do here, instead of just doing a whole lot of cheating. But I've done it in the past when I was, before the internet existed, and I needed, I still take notes in games sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pencil and paper is some of the best. Or now you can just kind of take a picture of a screen, like if
It's a lot of
a hint.
that. Yep. That helps out.
My best thing for that was for the witness. I would do a whole lot of take a picture of the screen and then like use like the drawing app to
that's
like
interesting.
like draw on lines and like figure things out that way. That was extremely handy.
You clued me into that strategy, and it saved my life in that game.
Yes. Wow.
So were there Nazis in the maze for you then?
Yes, in the circular one.
The Labyrinth.
Atlantis.
Yeah, sorry, we should just say Atlantis or Crete.
Atlantis
Atlantis,
maze.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there was
Okay,
one
me
walking
too.
around on every
Just-
screen.
Okay, yeah. All right, so you could fight them there.
Yes, that's where I got
Okay.
the bratwurst.
Okay, because that would have driven me insane because I spent so much time going back and forth at that place, and if I could have avoided those Nazi fights, oh my God.
Yeah, you can kind of like go into a nearby room and then just
Yeah.
pop back out of it, and then they'll be on a totally different spot of the map.
Right.
So I use that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I kind of like the whole circular maze in Atlantis because it was like you could see a lot of stuff where you could use orichalcum in it. But for me, I didn't figure out how to make the orichalcum for a while because
Yeah.
of that stupid ladder that I forgot to take with me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a fun adventure game environment where you're like, oh, I need a resource for all these different things, and I just need to figure out the way to make the resource.
Right.
And then when you finally do, I thought it was super satisfying.
Did everybody else spend a ridiculously long amount of time there? I mean, I think it was, over 3 hours for me. Maybe I just had the least optimal route, and like I lost a save at a certain point and stuff, but
Ooh, yeah.
That's when I quit.
yeah.
It was so much just. I mean, I appreciate that they had the question marks to kind of give you little hints of like, I guess I'll check this room out. But yeah, there was just like so many items to collect that didn't do anything.
Right. And there'd be some areas, like especially with Twitch chat helping me be like, okay, you need to go back into that room that had kind of the robot body laying down. I was like, which one was that? Like it was just labeled
Like,
room.
how
It was
much
one of like the
2 dozen
20
rooms.
Yeah.
Even if you look it up, there's no way to like know where that was.
Right.
That is exactly why I did not have the strength to persevere.
Okay.
Oh God. Yeah. I'd like.
That's what that was.
I talked to so many of those Nazis, and I like some of those exchanges though. Like one of the options just says, one of the dialogue options when you encounter a Nazi says, let's talk this over. And then he goes, with our fists. And then he starts punching. And another one's like, one of the dialogue options was like, I should run away. So I selected that. And he's like, I should run away. But not right now. And then he starts fighting. It's like, all right, I guess Indiana Jones is unpredictable, even for like his actions for these dialogue options.
He's a wily cat. Yeah, I'm really glad that someone gave us the hint of like everything is over if you lose a fight last time, because I didn't do any fighting until this one and did a lot of saving while those guys were walking around.
Smart. Yeah, Aaron T writes in and says, did you know that there's a sucker punch mechanic in the game? You can sucker punch an enemy by pressing 0 on your keyboard's numerical pad during combat.
Of course we knew that.
Sucker punching an enemy will KO them instantly, but you won't get IQ points from the encounter. It doesn't work on enemies who you can avoid combat with by solving a puzzle instead. Yeah, so there's some like unbeatable people, but that really helped for this at a certain point. Like, all right, 0, 0, 0, 0, just annihilating all these guys.
Yeah, I wonder if that's in the manual.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah.
Does anyone, or I don't know if you want to save it till the end, but does anyone know like what those IQ points even mean, or is it just a bragging thing at the end?
Yeah, I think the manual says that there are 1,000 you can get in total, but you need to do all 3 different playthroughs to get all 1,000.
And so it saves
continues?
them?
I think so.
That's interesting. That's really ahead of its time then.
Yeah.
Yeah, does anybody remember what they were at the end?
Yes, I was at, I got 2 different endings, a bad one and a good one. The bad one left me at 572, and the good one was 597.
Oh, I was at 595. Oh, you're a better Indiana Jones than I am.
Yep, 2 fewer sucker punches.
Damn it, man. That's the secret. Let's see.
I heard somewhere that it was like in the talkie version, there's some glitch that's been in it since the end of time where you can't get the full 1,000 because there's one wits path interaction where you can't get like 5 points or something.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yikes.
Did you all have any bugs? I had a weird one where I wasn't able to use like any buttons on my keyboard. I couldn't hit F5 to save or anything, and I had to keep alt-tabbing, then going back to it. And one time where the cursor just disappeared, like when I was jumping across the lava things at the end. I just had to load an old save for it. Anybody hit anything funky?
Just that the audio got kind of wonky at the last part for me, where like the drums of the music in the temple were like super loud and drowning out the dialogue of the characters.
I thought you were gonna say Sophia's voice got really low and weird.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that. Tommy Kliss, how did you say that?
I would say Tommy K.
Yep. Old Tommy K boy. Tubby Killfinger writes, says, if you were Sophia in the cage in Atlantis, wouldn't you just roll under the door as Indy held it up, or is that just me?
Yes.
Starkiller also wrote in about that same thing. He says, if I'm stuck in a jail cell and someone is holding open the door for me, I think I'll risk going through.
I respect them for saying that, but no.
Really?
You could get split in half by a gate that
Yeah, but
way.
Indy's holding it and his legs are wobbling.
And you're having a conversation with him about how you don't want to leave.
I really love
Indy's
that
holding
animation, by the way, of his knees.
It's
just
really
wobbling.
good.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
It's not a selling point to say his legs are wobbling. It could give out at any moment.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's either that or die under the ocean
Or
of
wait for him
starvation.
to get a thing to hold it up, which he does in 5 seconds.
A
Okay.
hinge pin, which is a word people have used before.
Ah, to get that hinge pin. Yeah, that part, I really like Sophia, and I was so happy to reunite with her. And then I got to that point, and I don't know if I've been more frustrated with a video game character. Like, just crawl out of the door! And like literally you're yelling, hurry up! Hurry up! She's like, I don't think so. She's so sassy about it. And I was losing it about like, do I hate this character now? Do I hate this character now? And then I had to think about it, like, you know what? She was like stuck in a dark pit in Crete for a long time. She's been in this Nazi prison. Like, she's gone through her own layers of hell. So
How frustrated are you when you don't have your freaking lunch?
That's a good point.
She probably hasn't had lunch in 3 lunches.
She did not get a
If
sub.
only it was a half-eaten sandwich that I could give her.
Yeah.
She didn't get a sub on the sub.
That's interesting. But she got a lot of Indiana Jones's tongue. I don't know if that counts quite as a lunch after that reuniting. But,
Yeah, that whole thing, Ben, coming after the incident where she won't climb through the hole.
Right.
I was like, Sophia is being very, very difficult in the second half of this game.
she's not a bad character. She was just written that way.
Yes.
I think climbing through holes is kind of her fear, like Indy's snakes.
Oh, okay. And that counts as a hole to go underneath that?
Yeah.
I was so fried from doing puzzles in that point, though. Like, to that level of like, okay, how many more hoops do I have to jump through just to get something that would work here? And I feel like I had some object too, like some stick or something that's like, it should have worked there, but it didn't.
Yep.
Because I needed to go through all of this. And then the part that killed me was, that robot by the gate. We had to hook the chains up, and I didn't see that the thing,
cupboard.
the mural, the cupboard that told you what to do. And so I was just beating my head against the wall, and the chat was trying to scream it at me. And eventually it's like, okay, I'm just going to go look at it. Then come back. And even then I was not understanding the logic of what was wrong. And so, and then it was also frustrating because I got up there and then it's like, I was missing 2 of the gears. So I had to go back and find those gears as well.
No.
So I just took like the worst route. And so by the time I got that hinge pin back to her, I was like, climb under this door right now.
And then the least she could do after you saves her is tell you to pick up the hinge pin. That's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Just a nice
No,
reminder.
you guys would have blown up at her.
Yeah.
She said, don't forget the hinge pin. Don't tell me what to do.
We don't like you anymore.
Yeah, she was surprisingly like not happy to see you, and it's like, I don't know, it's not like he did some huge blunder and then she's got captured. It was like they were adventuring together. She happened to get captured, and that sucked. I went through a bunch of crap to come get you out, and now you're just extra mad.
you have no idea how many empty rooms I've seen today, Sophia.
I forgot to mention, I like when you get the cup for the lava, there's a line where Indiana Jones goes, "This isn't the cup of a carpenter."
Yep.
All right. That's all I need. Like when he was picking up the cup, I was even talking on chat like, oh, he has to say something about a cup. This guy knows cups. His whole career is about cups. The one where you run away, the dialogue, I wrote it down, where he says, "I'm tired of running, but not that tired." And then that's how you escape a fight. So it like just flips that again.
Subverting.
It's a mess. Yeah, subverting indeed. Let's see. We got other puzzles around here that stand out for y'all. Ross, I mean, since you absorbed so much of this and everybody else, is there anything that stands out for you in a big way?
I think, there was not a whole lot after I remembered to get that ladder. There wasn't a whole lot that tripped me up in the early part of Atlantis. It always felt like there was some other place I could go and some idea I had that I could try. So even though I was there for probably 2 hours, it wasn't as frustrating for me as when you were stuck at a place where there's only one thing and you know that it's stopping you from progressing, and you don't know what you need to do to get it. So
I really like the music in the canal. I remember that had a cool vibe, and the drums of the overall maze in Atlantis drove me insane. But yeah, the music in the canal was cool. Kurgelis writes in and says, I like the game. I like that the game doesn't actually spell out, Leo, I forgot what it's like to podcast in person. It's so weird to read something and have somebody over my shoulder.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Do you want to read this?
Sure. Kurgels. I like that the game doesn't actually spell out what the downfall or fate of Atlantis was. That story is more told in background details and seeing the impacts of the machine during the climax. It's great that even at the end, when all 3 paths converge at Atlantis, the game is still letting you make choices that guide the narrative. It's wild that you can leave Sophia behind multiple times and just escape on your own.
So I guess it was totally optional that like you could just leave her there.
Oh, so if she frustrates you that much, you can just be like, see you later.
Yep. Wait, I'm just going to leave you at the bottom of the ocean? Like,
Wow, I didn't know that was possible.
I feel like your IQ points should probably drop a little bit at the end after murdering a woman.
Yeah, it feels like it's like crucial that you have like a piece of wood with you, but not a lady.
Right.
Adventuring with the whole time.
Yes.
It's like,
Yep.
I bet a lot of people didn't leave her just because they're like, well, I'm sure I'll get a fail, even if they didn't want to bring her necessarily.
Or you feel like she'll be crucial for the end game puzzle or something like that. But I guess, maybe the lesson Indy learned from Last Crusade was you just leave your female companion at the bottom of a crevasse or in a cell, and it's all fine.
That's right. That's it. So then you go into that room that has like the lava pit in there. Or I think even before that, I like there's a moment where Sophia says, Indy, Nurab Sal is here. I sense his presence. And Indy's like, oh, that's a bunch of hokum. And she's like, are these walls hokum? Are these lights hokum? Like, look around, Indy. Like, this is all a little bit nonsensical.
You've seen so much stuff in your life,
know.
Indiana Jones. Why are you
For
being
real.
so obstinate about this?
Yeah, even, I mean, when you're on Crete, where he's like, oh, the Minotaur and the Colossus and the statue under there and the maze under there, that's real. So maybe Atlantis is real. Where it's like, yeah, at this point, just believe everything you hear, Indy. Although I would like to see what Indy's limits are. Do you think, like, anybody ever runs up to Indiana Jones and like, hey man, there's like a ghost in my basement. You think he just has to be like, okay. He just has to believe everybody.
Hold on, is it from Christian mythology?
But yeah, so then you go into that lava pit room, and then I love it where Sophia starts turning and she goes, Dr. Jones, welcome to my humble abode. And like the voice distortion just becomes so staticky, it's incomprehensible.
Yeah. I'm curious to the people who didn't have the voice version who played that 1992.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how was that portrayed? Did they do like hard italics or like some asterisk?
I think just like from her talking, you know, because there's a lot of double checking, like Indy's even like, wait, I don't get it. Are you a boy or a girl right now? You know, like, so I feel like they're trying to drive it home.
I have that exact exchange written down here,
Please.
actually. So are you a girl or a guy now or what? I'm the spirit of flesh incarnate. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, then just as the woman that is now the king that shall ever be. That's cool stuff.
All right.
I'm curious if there's anybody who played the game who was like, oh, I thought Nurabsel was a hoax this whole time.
Oh,
and,
right.
And now he is real, because I feel like that was kind of supposed to be sort of the vibe there.
Yeah.
Is like, has she been like totally faking everything?
Well, I feel like with Trottier, at some point, I think when like you first activate her necklace, like you see kind of that spark that kind of looks like a figure, right? So you kind of
Exactly.
know that there's something there, and he comes back in some way. But it was like, it's very Ghostbusters, right? It's like, okay, but then I love that it differentiated itself from Ghostbusters of having her being possessed by this spirit and changing her voice and all that, where I think Indy at some point is like, so you're possessed? And she goes, well, you're wrong. No, we're just friends, actually. So it's like this weird idea of like, she's just friends with Nurabsel, and so they're kind of sharing the same body, but it's like, there's a small distinction that separates it from Ghostbusters. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, or she just doesn't know that when he's in control, she's just unaware of it completely or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But then, so she's holding out her necklace, and I was like, this is it.
Yeah, you put a bead in there, right?
Yep. And it's hot, so then she takes it off, and I was like, okay, well, this is going to be sweet, because I'm going to use the whip to get the necklace into the lava. No, the answer was to put it in the gold box. I was like, that's the least interesting way.
What is your obsession with this whip?
It's an Indiana Jones game. And then he goes, so long, Nurabsel, and then it all explodes, which is pretty sweet.
Yes.
Just killing gods.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the necklace to come back into play in a puzzle, so I was ready and waiting when she got possessed to, you know, put a Orichalcum in there.
Yeah.
Ready to gold box that necklace.
I like seeing like the skeletons up top in that area too, where they look like they had kind of like fins on. They were kind of just funky looking skeletons. So that was interesting. And then you get in the tank, and there's Atlantean graffiti that's giving you hints about the correct way to turn on and off this Atlantean tank, which is a pretty cool idea for putting down here.
Yeah, I thought that was the Colossus for some reason. I was like, oh, the Colossus is this tank. I got to put all my Orichalcum in it. So
no.
I put a ton in there and nothing happened.
Yep.
And I was like, maybe I'll reload a save.
Smart. Very smart. Yeah.
I really liked the animation and like the camera angle on
Yeah.
that. It was like very much like, whoa, out of nowhere, this is like a modern, 3D, action game.
Yeah, we're starved for a change of pace. Anytime it's like, oh, it's a close-up of Sophia. This is game-changing, you know? Like having Indy and Sophia driving that thing was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yep. So that is where I ran into my second problem, where I needed the guide to get the hinge pin to be the second lever, because you see the graffiti. You're like, okay, I got to put levers in these spots. That's clear enough. But what is my second lever? Couldn't figure it out.
Oh, God, that's brutal. And then I like it where I think you stop the tank, and then there's that shot of the tank just like shooting off into the cool area of Atlantis, then just going right into lava. And it's like, oh, I thought for sure that was going to be like a game over screen.
Yes,
it actually got me, where then they're like, oh, we escaped just in time.
The little people come like, dee, 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 dee.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Since we're next to each other, can I be your worst nightmare and read one of your
No, we're good.
notes verbatim? Okay.
No, which one? Which one?
Let's go up a little bit.
Yeah.
This game demands such a higher level of gamer.
You've seen that T-shirt that we're working on here, Minmax. Yeah, I think this game does demand a higher level of gamer.
Stand by that.
It's true though. Like, I was really thinking about like, I can't do this. There's no universe where I can solve these puzzles.
You have to be
And maybe,
so committed.
Well, I mean, Ross is basically there, but like that's the thing is like, I need to be focusing on every pixel. Like some of those areas where I think one of those gears I picked off from the wall in Atlantis, like it was like 4 brown pixels in the corner, and I'm supposed to know to pick that up to use in that machinery? Are you kidding me?
I guess it was just the adventure game instincts. I was like, okay, something a little different about this room. I'm going to put my cursor over every tiny little bit of real estate.
It's garbage. But yeah, I mean, I know we're all dumb now, and all gamers are dumb and bad and all this stuff.
Need our hands held.
That's right. But this is just like, I don't know on what level you have to be as a quote-unquote gamer to play this thing. It is
unlimited patience.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, forget From Software. Those are baby games compared to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, is that true?
Yeah, I would say that. You know what you have to do in those games.
I guess that's kind of a big thing. So then I love the way this Atlantis area looked. Like, I think artistically it was awesome. It was like orange and pink. Mm-hmm. The music was... I need to compare it, but it sounded exactly like the Shining music to me, like the way it started, just like the low notes of like a dun 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 dun. Isn't it the Shining?
Yeah, that's some Latin song that a lot of horror things.
Do you see
really?
Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know.
The 4-note thing, dun 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 dun, where it's in all these different, John Williams songs and stuff. Indicates death.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's what they're just pulling.
Like when
from
you
then.
see the South Bend Shovel Slayer show up, that's the classic Home Alone Diasiri.
Okay.
Or what about Nightmare Before Christmas, where was it like
Making Christmas?
Yes.
That was also Shining, I think. Yeah. The part that killed me in this area, where there's a little frog statue, right? After the puzzles and hopping across the lava and all that stuff, and the frog statue is like, oh, it's hungry for orichalcum. And you put it in there, but then it doesn't do anything. Like, this is the ultimate FU to players. Like, are you kidding me? Especially if they have like one left and they put it in that frog thinking it says it's hungry for it. And it's like, oh no, that wasn't the answer actually.
Yes.
Now go back and make some more.
It's an ancient trash can. Yeah.
You've just been shoving orichalcum in every open statue mouth in this entire
know.
city.
Yep.
But not this one, my friend.
Ugh, it's just brutal.
Yeah. So with this final puzzle, final confrontation, where the Nazis catch up to you, and then it seems to me like no matter what you pick, Kerner will always be like, oh, I have to go first, right?
Yeah,
Is that how it worked for everybody else?
Yeah, I do like their discussion about like, oh, and then we'll be gods, or I'll be a god. And then Kerner's like, well, I want to be a god too. And it's like, oh, we should have talked about this before. Like, can there be 2 gods? How does this work? But yeah, Kerner is the first.
Yep.
And he gets turned into, I guess, you took that as like the Minotaur bull thing?
Yes.
Okay.
And he like does a purposeful headfirst dive into that lava, right?
Yeah, he doesn't want to live 2 seconds of that tiny Minotaur man.
See ya.
Over it immediately.
It's like he lost his like cool blonde hair and he had to just top it.
That's right.
Yep.
I do like that idea of the running themes of going back to the book again and again, and then the fact that like, oh, Plato's greatest error was that tenfold translation error. So like, it's cool that in the grand finale that comes back for like, how many beads should I put in this thing? Just give me the number, Indy. Yeah.
Like maybe he means 1/10. Nope, maybe it's 100.
Right.
Like,
Yes. My adventure game instincts told me, oh, I need to get him to put 100 beads in that thing for me, because that will have his back to me and it will give me time to like whip him or something like that. And it was not the right
it
answer.
would have been great for him to have voiceover for 1,
Yes.
2, 3.
I felt robbed. There should have been like a time skip or something. He just suddenly goes 98, 99, 100.
100.
Yeah, but Indy has some line where he's like, fill me up, doctor. He has some line like that, like put 100 in there, throw it to the max. And then by far the highlight of this game, I was screaming. I was so delighted by this ending. Did you see this, Leo?
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay.
The green, you turn
Yes.
into the green guy and go ha ha ha, and then like do a jump scare at the screen.
Yeah, just this green god, and he's looking at the screen, then screaming. And it's like, and then game over. And God, what does it say? It like gives you the version
wait,
there.
Indy does.
Yes, this is what I bet you didn't see.
I did not know.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to like quote unquote mess it up. And like every other route just has Indiana Jones like becoming a god, then he's like, ah!
And then you get the bad ending, looks like that.
Indy's fatal transformation.
Let me
Yeah.
see that.
After Indy's fatal transformation, Atlantis shook itself to pieces. And secrets and
I'm kind of
Nazis
more
and
interested in
Molten
the indie god ending, because I just followed the thing to do it right and had the bad guy turn into a ghost and yell at the screen. But I'm kind of curious. to hear the indie yell and see what his ghost looks like.
I think the
It's the same
yell and
animation.
animation is the same. Yep.
But since I saw that the first time, I was like, this is the most badass option of just... And I thought, like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and maybe I could, like, control this ghost and kill a Nazi now or something, but just having Indy become a god as, like, a quote-unquote canonical ending to this game is such a cool angle.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's why they never made Indy 4.
That's right. Let's see. Who was it that wrote in about this? Oh, yeah. Alan Liebold writes in and says, I really like the final encounter and how the whole scenario feels like it belongs in an indie movie.
It did.
The bad guys basically cause their own demise while Indy either stands by and lets them or uses the knowledge he has against them. I think this is where the adventure game genre really works well for an Indiana Jones story in a way it wouldn't work as an action game with a final boss fight. And unlike the movies, there are multiple ways to succeed or fail. I especially like confusing Kerner and Uberman with the whole tenfold numbering error thing. Divide by 10. Wait, no, multiply. Yeah. One of the dialogue options has Indy say, once I'm a god, I'm sending you straight to hell, which is such a badass Indy line.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. I like when you're trying to like talk Uberman out of it, one of the options is like, hey man, let's all just go home and go to sleep.
Yes. There are like 6 or 7 different like exchanges you can have there with him.
Yeah.
When you're trying to talk him out of it. And then I think it is that angry god one that finally is the one that gets him to be like, you're trying to trick me
Right.
into becoming a god yourself and killing me, so I will go.
Well, I don't. It was weird. Like I don't know what his plan was. Like I'll just let Indy become a god, then I'll also become a god, and we'll rule together. Or like, was he banking?
He wanted to test it. He said something like everything like this needs a lab rat or whatever.
Yeah, but if it goes well, then he has to go up against a god. Like,
Yeah, he didn't think it through.
If it goes well, he
He
has to
also
go against
supported
a
the
god.
Nazi regime.
that's it. Fine.
And then he also had to go back to that room and make 100 more beads, right?
Oh, what a pain in the ass.
You were harvesting beads while you were solving these puzzles. Yeah, and shout out to the voice of Uberman. Nick Jameson did voices in like all the LucasArts games of the 90s.
Right.
He was the main guy, the main old scientist in Day of the Tentacle
That's right.
as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
True Foe writes in, otherwise known as Tan. They say, I love how you can legit just get an ending where Indy meets his demise. Imagine being a kid in the 90s who got that ending and just accepted it. I love
Yeah.
the deep dive. At times it got pretty darn bleak, and I'm amazed you all were able to power through.
Yeah, I did like that was an ending, not a game over screen. That was an ending.
Yes.
That was cool.
So the credits roll right after that?
No, it's not credits. It's just kind of the game
It's
over
just,
screen.
that
okay.
screen, and then you gotta reload.
But
Yeah.
not the exact game over screen, right? Or is that the type of game over screen you
Yeah,
got every
that's
time?
it. Yep.
But every time you
really?
died before, when it said like Hans went on to.
It was the same screen. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's the same one, all right. And then you get in a sub, which for some reason was parked at Atlantis. I guess that's how the Nazis get down there. And then we took off, and then I like a little moment where they're like, well, normally all my treasures are destroyed, and then the volcano explodes.
No
and you
evidence.
Yes,
Yes,
and then you
at least
lose
there's
everything.
proof this time.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I thought that was a fun little note. And I had seen that screen at some point. I don't know, some other recap of Favorite Atlantis or something. So when it finally popped up, it's like, oh, I recognize this from this game. It's weird that the iconic image is like the final shot of the game.
If we had to do a Game Informer top 10 sunsets in games, I would have put that on there.
Oh, interesting. That's a good one. Is it too late? Let's go. Do they still do top 10s in the magazine?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I might be starting to get magazines again soon, but I'll let you know.
Brian's about to panic to admit that he's not subscribed to Game Informer anymore. There's sweat dripping from his brow.
Well, no, I had the friends and family subscription
that
for a
was a nice
while,
deal.
and then they just killed that along with
Yeah.
a lot of other things. But
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool ending, and it made up for the rest of this chunk, I think, being brutal for me.
Tough
God, I
chunk.
was so frustrated.
Yeah, it made me wish that more parts of the game were Indy matching wits with Nazis.
Yes.
And like tricking them into doing stupid stuff.
Yeah, being on the wits path, I felt like from these conversations I had I feel like I got the worst one for me. I feel like I would have preferred the punch path or whatever.
Really?
And I agree, I went in like excited about the matching wits, but it's like adventure games are so hard to learn the language you're interacting with to like know what you can do and what you should be thinking of doing. And I never fully got that in this one. And it's like, yeah, if I knew a little better my tools, if I wasn't so surprised by the solution to everything, I guess is the summation of it.
Yeah.
That'd be my ideal indie game.
Sean Mills writes in and says, I enjoyed seeing the LucasArts logo on the walls of the amazing Crete as a fun Easter egg. The ending of the game also mentions that we'll see Indy again, but perhaps in a younger form.
Yeah,
Yes.
perhaps as a much younger man.
Yeah, I assume that's referring to the Young Indy Chronicles NES game from '93.
Well, people thought that, but that's not LucasArts that made that.
Oh, yeah.
So Alan Leibold replied to that, trying to figure it out, and said, I just did a little researching, and it turns out that the Young Indy tease at the end of this game is referring to a canceled Lucas Learning title called Young Indiana Jones at the World's Fair.
Wow.
Which seems Lucas Learning. Think they tease that? I took it to read as like, oh, the next adventure game is going to be
Yeah.
Young Indiana Jones, which I think would be cool.
yeah.
That would make more sense.
I think they should do that. Sam Danby writes in and says, I wanted to shout out that each game over screen has a little description of what happened next. They were also goofy, as these alternate endings where Indy just carks it halfway. Carks it? Have you heard that before?
Karks it. There's no spell check from Google Docs on that.
Sounds British. It's very, quote-unquote, Poochie, return to his home planet, was never seen again vibe. Also, this is my first time I've ever beaten an adventure game in this style, and I'm very proud of my patience, so thank you for organizing this, everybody.
Congrats.
Way to go, Sam.
Yeah, I think like what you were saying a couple minutes ago, my familiarity with LucasArts adventure games really benefited me here because, yeah, all the classic tricks were in there about use the right verb or like, pixel hunt to find the right button or item.
Right.
And if you are not accustomed to doing that, I could just see this be a game being a series of brick walls.
Yes.
Yeah, it totally does feel like, I'd be better at the next one of those I played, for sure.
Yeah. And you've been playing a lot recently, even.
Yeah, I mean, not quite the same era. I've been playing Grim Fandango and Escape from Monkey Island are pretty much the two I've gone back to.
By the way, do you want to talk about Return to Monkey Island on the podcast this week?
Oh, I haven't touched it.
Okay. It's just out today.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you're going to dive
Is it
right
good?
in. Yeah, it's supposed to be good.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Did they ever do a Star Wars adventure game, or were they all just straight action?
They never really did.
No,
Apparently,
I can't believe they didn't.
No,
That'd be cool.
Apparently, they were talking about doing one where you played a C-3PO, which I don't know how I
That
feel about that. As a
sounds
choice,
like
but-
the thing I never knew I always wanted.
I'm sure Anthony Daniels would still be very game to voice
yes.
it. Yeah. Yaddle writes in and says, I played the Steam version, and I wound up looking up the original soundtrack to compare, and I was blown away. The Jungles of Tikal sounded much more ethereal and less farty, apparently, in the original soundtrack. So something about just the Steam version, I wonder? It just has a worse soundtrack? I wouldn't have expected that. But.
Oh, wait, doesn't
I think there was something weird with the soundtrack where there was like a fancier Roland synthesizer soundtrack that was like more sophisticated, but like all the versions you can play today are like somehow like the worst soundtrack. So you have to like, there's somebody that tweeted at us. I didn't have time to like really fiddle with it, but he's like, oh, you just have to update Scum and then pull in this Roland synthesizer and like that'll give you the good soundtrack.
Yes, I watched that YouTube video that person very graciously sent us, and I was like, I need to reserve all my puzzle solving for the actual game.
I can't do QA on this thing, yeah.
Yeah, Ross just got back into PC gaming, and it'd be a tall order to already start kind of tweaking your files and
Yes,
doing some mods.
Before this game, I had one game in my Steam library.
Wow.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Are you serious? Wait, really?
Yeah, so when they put them
Nice.
all out in 2009, I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and play through every LucasArts game in chronological release order. It's going to be amazing. And then Last Crusade, I was like, oh, they're worse than I remember. I can't do this. But it was just that game. The rest of them, this one was great.
Awesome. Creator writes in and says, so, as someone with the unique and unfortunate perspective of having only seen the Crystal Skull and no other Indiana Jones movies, I can say that 1, the story here for this game was better, and 2, I'll probably go watch those other movies now.
You should do that.
You should absolutely
Yes.
do that. Please enjoy your wild ride.
A lot of Crystal Skull fans came out in the comments of the YouTube.
Yeah. The most downvoted video you've ever had because we bashed Crystal Skull. No, that's not true. But yeah, I was surprised. I was happy to see that, pretty early on. I guess in the last discussion we talked about Crystal Skull, and there are defenders out there. Mm-hmm. There's always defenders whenever you're in doubt of anything.
There's defenders of sometimes the first half, sometimes the first third, but no one defends.
They were in the comments.
The end.
They were in the comments,
I think, pretty much everybody was like, well, it's the end of it isn't great, but I don't want to burn it anymore or something like that.
Okay, so they warmed up over time.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm curious to see it again.
Yeah.
I think that's it, everybody. I think that's Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
We dove deepest?
I think. Don't you feel like we kind of dove deepest?
I kind of feel like we do.
Does anybody have anything we haven't hit from the game?
Just want to mention the LucasArts Easter egg. I'm selling these fine leather jackets as a dialogue option. Showed up in this game. It's from maybe the original Monkey Island or
really?
Maybe it was Last Crusade, but yeah. And then Monkey Island was the first game to like reference it. So like in joke that appears in almost every LucasArts adventure game.
Oh, fun! I missed that completely. Yeah. I do have a question for everybody. So for the Deepest Dive, we have that T-shirt that Hugo in the community designed that has like a collage of all Deepest Dive characters and whatnot. So we update it every year. So it'll be fun for this year to be like, oh, we got to figure out who from Jack and Daxter to put on, and what other Deepest Dive have we done this year? And the other Deepest Dives that we've done this year. Pokemon Legends Arceus. But the question is, what do we put on that in that collage from Fate of Atlantis?
Not one of the Nazis.
That's a good call.
I was gonna roll. I was thinking Hitler. So yeah, this is tough.
Would be good.
It's like I like doing either like the god at the like Indiana Jones as a god.
Yes.
Because it's nice and copyright free. I would be so bold.
Can you tell it's Indiana Jones?
No, but I guess
just put a hat on it then.
Yeah, just glowing green, but what normal brown hat.
That'd be so
And
dumb.
a half-eaten sandwich.
Do you think? Was that Nurab Sol? What's your take on what that being was at the end?
That was, what they were trying to achieve, maybe? Like the Atlanteans?
Okay, so Nurab Sol was like a failed attempt at that?
Great question. Let's find Hal Barwood and ask him.
Because Uberman, didn't he evaporate immediately? But Nurab Sol was able to possess a human medium and live through that way. But she obviously lived long after his lifetime.
Yeah, or was he in the necklace? He was, right?
Necklace.
Yeah.
So Uberman didn't have a necklace to haunt, so he was just screwed.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
No necklace!
Natron watching us live on Twitch says you could have the Nazi killing robot from it broke out and took out the one.
You could have a
Sophia
Nazi
guard.
with the stalactite falling on his skull.
Ooh, that's pretty good. We could have the hinge pin, just inanimate carbon rod equivalent, just sitting on the show. What the hell is this? It's a hinge pin. What are you talking about?
A dusty whip. Never been used.
Whip for sale.
A well-worn ship rib or whatever.
You probably need 3 different versions with a different item on each version of the
Oh,
shirt.
God. Just randomize how they're all shipped out. Yeah, let us know, everybody, in the comments what you want from the game. This is how we should end every Deepest Dive, actually, is just getting feedback on what to put in there. Because even Jack and Daxter, it's like, well, Jack or Daxter, that's too obvious. You got to have some slightly deeper cut, right?
That you have to try and remember what it was every time you look at the shirt.
What is this, freak? A crab in a rib cage.
Actually, yeah.
That's pretty.
That's too good.
And then if anybody on the street ever recognizes what that's from, that would be
Marry
truly
them.
stunning. Yeah, amazing. That's it, everybody, for the Deepest Dive on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. What a breeze. I'm happy we finally did an adventure game. There was definitely a point halfway through the second half where I said, oh, this is why. This is why we don't do adventure games. What have they done?
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, but I'm still open to doing one in the future. I still am tempted. I've never finished Full Throttle. I'd like to do that
That's
at some
good.
point.
Day of the Tentacle's my #1 recommendation.
Yeah, I've played that a couple times now. I love it for sure.
But don't believe anybody who tells you an adventure game is only 7 hours to play through.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's what it said on How Long to Beat, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, nonsense.
Ridiculous.
Complete nonsense. How long to beat? I don't think I've ever come
How
in
long
under
to
that time.
quit and start watching a long play on YouTube? That's about right.
Oh, that's right. Thanks, everybody, obviously, for playing along and submitting so many great comments about your experience over there on Patreon. Thanks, everybody who followed us on Twitch and helped me get through this game. I owe you everything. Aramite E, Crowboy, all you fine folks, thank you so much. And thanks, everybody, for watching and listening this far. If you're just watching on YouTube and you enjoy this format, if you feel like we are truly giving games the discussions that they deserved, and that this is, in fact, the best, most ever discussion about Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis on the internet, you can help support this whole initiative, this whole format, by going to patreon.com/minmax with 2 N's. We appreciate the help supporting independent games media. Oh yeah, Trufo asked how long would it have taken without the Twitch help? Yeah, I mean, I would still be there. It'd be the end of Last Crusade. I'd be aging so quickly. Yeah,
You'd be a skeleton with a note that no one's allowed to take.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for coming to the MinMax studio to record this. It was fun. It's nice to see your all faces. Yeah, truly.
Good times.
Great.
All right. Let's see. For the future of the Deepest Dive, I mean, it seems anticlimactic, but yeah, there's no way we're not doing God of War Ragnarok. So that's coming up, but that's November. So there's a little bit of time before then. So if anybody has any ideas, feel free to lob them out.
Do you think about doing another one?
What day?
Between now and
What day is it? I mean, I guess it would have to be October. Maybe not. But if someone is passionate about a small one, how do you feel about it, Leah?
Maybe there's like a spooky October game.
Yeah.
I like to play spooky stuff.
Oh, that is true. But some of those are like more fun for like streams than I think for like, let's plays, because you get to see people getting scared and wetting their pants and stuff on a stream. But we're open to all suggestions if you got them, everybody.
If you're passionate about a small one,
Small and spooky.
Then
let us know.
thanks so much for watching and listening, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Videos like this are possible because MinMax is a completely independent outlet for games supported solely by the community. The only reason we don't have to create condescending clickbait is because folks like you click on the subscribe button or check out the benefits over on patreon.com/MinMax with 2 N's. We think that we're the most efficient gaming outlet out there, so please take a look at what we've done and imagine what more we can do with your support.